We're up in Killarney for another fall camping adventure. Ooh, that's cold. I think we timed this one perfect because fall is in full swing, just like last time when we did it to hike the crack. We're doing the Bell Lake Loop this time, and I'm super excited because I've always wanted to go up Silver Peak. It's like continuous gradual slope. Gonna be a bit cold. We're definitely in shoulder season. It has its pluses and its minuses. The remnants of Hurricane Milton. Pluses definitely outweigh the minuses because it's freaking beautiful. We're at the Johnny Lake access, and we're bringing our tandem for its first ever trip with us. Killarney Provincial Park is often called the crown jewel of Ontario's park system, probably because of the sparkling quartzite ridges of the Cloche mountains. So we still haven't really figured out our setup on the canoe. This could be interesting.
Don't eat the bee.
Don't eat the bee. Ooh, water's cold. This is definitely going to be a bit of a learning experience. The hope was it would get us down to one trip on the Portage. That's the whole point of this venture. Okay, no.
Here's the map, yeah?
Yep. Can't forget the map.
I forgot my hat.
You want to go back for your hat?
It's at home. Where did it go?
Oh, it's at home. Encompassing over 645 square kilometers, the park features numerous hiking trails and endless paddling routes.
Straight ahead.
Well, the colors are definitely beautiful out here. I'm sure we'll get into some sections where it's pretty dang good. Still getting used to the old single blade. Haven't ever done much of it really. So it's a bit of a learning thing for me. Especially fun to learn going into the wind. The area has long captivated artists, such as those in the Group of Seven. So much so that they persuaded the Ontario government to make it a park. See some writing on the rock. Almost look like spray paint.
Camp.
Yeah, a little old camp. Starting to think it's feeling like rain. I almost swore we heard thunder, but it could have just been a distant gunshot too. Alright, I found a foothold.
Fill up this.
Oh, well, it doesn't help that wind is just wanting to force us the wrong way. Yep. Like I keep saying, we're still getting used to the whole tandem thing because we're super used to solos. So it's like we're noobs all over again. But it's always good to learn something new. We had planned this trip to be off the water a little bit sooner than what we normally do. You gotta remember it's fall, so night comes earlier. Probably want a little bit more firewood. It's not that bad for us to be stopping this early. So it seems like what we thought might have been thunder earlier was definitely thunder. Looks like we might be setting up the tarp. Definitely sounds like thunder. More thunder. Ugh, I can't believe it's raining. At least it's gonna be short-lived. Just this little band moving over us, looked like rain coming at us, and yep, sure enough it was. We were kind of hoping that we might get a Northern Lights show again tonight. We got quite the show last night, the best I've ever seen, probably the only time I can truly say I've seen the Northern Lights, because we could see the reds in the sky with our bare eyes and everything. And that was only a 5-minute drive from our house. Would have been awesome if we could have been up here last night for that. Well, it's basically sunset and the wind is not giving up. I've never experienced anything like this in shoulder season. if it's the remnants of Hurricane Milton or what's going on, but this is bad wind. I'm super glad we set the tent up far back into the bushes. There's a little cliff behind the campsite and we're gonna hike up there and see if we can get the weather forecast. Nope, it looks like it's just gonna keep getting worse for the next little bit. 62 km/h wind gusts. Sounds like a fun time. Good time to have a fire, that's for sure. It looks like we're almost at the worst of it though, so basically when we go to bed it'll start calming down. It was quite the night last night. The wind stuck with us pretty much all night. At one point, Castle woke me up and she's like, "Do you hear that?" And I was like, "What?" She's like, "There's no wind." Today, we're gonna work our way up through Bell Lake and 3 Mile Lake and back down into David Lake, where we have a site booked for 2 nights because we plan on spending all of tomorrow just hiking some of the Cloche Trail and Silver Peak and that. I'd honestly rather be hiking because yeah, you're a little bit more out of the wind, you're constantly working so you keep warm, and you're only really cold at site in the morning and at night. Whereas with the bit of breeze we have today, it's probably going to be a cold day of paddling. Found a full caramel foraging on the ground. Not even kidding. Look at that. Full caramel in the wild. I didn't know they grew on trees.
So while I was filling up the water, I looked down at our canoe and I noticed that it's now upright. And I was like, no, we flipped that last night just in case it rained. So the wind must have been so strong that it put our canoe back right side up. This one here.
A little bit different procedure than we're used to with the solos.
Nona.
We're going, Nona.
It's like, see you later, people.
Oh, the sun's glorious this morning. Almost be in a t-shirt once the sun hits. We're already both not appreciating the fact that we got to take care of this boat. Ooh, that's cold. Be much better in the summer.
It's working. We can carry everything in one go, but it's hard to film. I can't feel my arms. Should have maybe like tested everything at home. And we didn't think of a way to carry the paddles.
Well, that was our first ever single carry portage as a couple. I used to be able to single carry back in the day, but it's been a long time since I did that. About 10 seconds of paddling and then we're at the next portage. Go! Idiot. Castle was saying we're hobbits because we're doing this barefoot now.
I want to see mountains, Gandalf, mountains! Don't think Ryan realized when he signed up for dating me that I like the outdoors and we like all the same things. But he's gonna have to suffer through me making nerdy Lord of the Rings references forever. In order for me to film cool stuff, I gotta take everything off.
We're surprised how many groups we've met coming across Bell Lake. Bell Lake is a very popular spot within Killarney since it offers easy access to hike Silver Peak by a short paddle that brings you to a trailhead on Bell Lake. We've officially passed through from Bell Lake into 3 Mile Lake. It's a beautiful day for a paddle other than the headwinds we're getting. Oh, the shoes are coming off again. And that, folks, is how thunderboxes are born. I'm surprised to see it sitting on a portage though. Maybe it's on a way to a site, or maybe this portage, since it's so heavily used, needs its own thunderbox. Okay, no. We made it onto Balsam Lake, which means we only have one more portage for the day. It's feeling like a pretty easy day as far as our standards go, but it's good this time of year to leave some time at the end of the day to gather firewood because it's chilly. Feels so peaceful this time of year. Well, that was a very confusing section. The map was showing us a bunch of islands and then sections of marsh that also look like islands, and you gotta hand it to the parks maps because they never really show you the route. And there's probably like 3 or 4 different ways we could have gone through that section. Luckily, it seems like we picked the right one, but there definitely might have been a shorter route. I gotta say, Balsam Lake was an interesting paddle. Looks like water levels used to be a lot lower at one point. It's probably just like a pond, stumps everywhere from probably the logging days. Into the water. Oh, God.
Well, we're off to a rocky start, and I mean literally. This is our first, quote, big portage. It's a really nice fall day once the wind stopped. The last portage I had to pull my hat and mitts out of the bag though because I was shivering. Better than being at home. What are you gonna do at home?
Well, made it to David Lake, and that was probably the first portage that really made us appreciate our new divorce machine. Doing that in a single carry probably makes it all worthwhile. It's warmer here, that's for sure, than when we got into the last portage.
I see where other people hit their paddles here.
A little shallow. Quite the view. We're rolling around the corner too. View of our hike tomorrow. Looks ambitious. Quite the elevation gain, that's for sure. But it honestly doesn't look that much worse than like the Elephant up in Chiniguchi. Nowhere near Patina Ridge and Maple Mountain, but definitely going to be a nice view from up there with all these colors. Can't tell where the campsite is exactly on this. All kind of looks open and like a campsite.
Oh, I still got my pants wet.
She got her pants wet. One night on the town. Boom.
So we were wandering at the back part of our campsite, and I found this cool shelter that someone built. It even has its own fire pit and an outdoor fire pit. Oh, and there's chairs, everything you could need.
We both feel like we got super lucky with the site today, especially considering it was like the last site available. But this site is just epic view in like all directions, and it has trails going all over the place. We're pretty sure that we see a flagged trail up the hill behind the site that will lead us to the Cloche trail and our ultimate goal of hiking Silver Peak. A bit earlier than we usually start a fire, but it's fall, so here we are, starting a fire before 5 o'clock. So Castle, what are your thoughts on paddling the tandem so far?
Haven't murdered Ryan, so it's pretty good.
You heard it here. She hasn't murdered me yet, but could be tonight.
Not divorced.
We were never married.
We're forest married. You said we're forest married.
Did I say that? Good morning. Today we only have one mission, and that's hike Silver Peak. We're lucky enough to be able to snag a little bit of signal and check the weather forecast, which is not looking nice for tomorrow for us getting out of here. So we debated about whether we should just try and do the hike and get out of here. It's looking a little bit better this morning when I checked, so we're gonna ride it out and see. Maybe check again at the top and make our decision. Anyways, I'm excited to start hiking because it's a little bit chilly this morning. As you can see, there's some flags marking the trail coming out of the back of our campsite, and it's pretty well beaten. Fairly obvious, but it's definitely flagged every so often, so I'm pretty confident this links up. The point where it's linking up with the Cloche trail because we're seeing some pretty big cairns, and it's pretty flagged. According to the park map, the highest point behind our site was a point where it would intersect with the Cloche trail, and this seems to be like the highest point.
This makes me feel like I'm in Lord of the Rings. This is the best.
Canada is freaking beautiful. The Cloche Trail is 80 kilometers long and named after the Franklin Carmichael painting, La Cloche Silhouette. The Cloche mountain range itself is approximately 2.3 billion years old, and at one time its peaks were higher than the Rocky Mountains. Silver Peak was once destined to be a ski resort, which would compete with Mount Tremblant. However, the project was cancelled due to the steepness and isolation of the area. It seems like we've hit the intersection, and we're going up Silver Peak. Wish us luck because it's about to get steep. We're starting to get some glimpses of the epic view we're about to experience. It's looking pretty good already. So far, we haven't seen anybody else on this hike. Saw a bunch of people that looked like they were paddling in to do the hike from the Bell Lake access yesterday. So we were wondering if we might get a bit of the same experience today with a lot of people, but so far not a soul. The hike up to Silver Peak hasn't really been that bad. Definitely not as bad as Maple Mountain. Mostly just like continuous gradual slope. Not like the 35, 45 degree slopes we went through on our hike up Maple Mountain. Let's hope the view is as good as Maple Mountain. top of Silver Peak, and I have to say, this is probably the most epic view I've ever experienced in Ontario, at least. Definitely blows Maple Mountain and Ishpetina Ridge and anything else I've ever hiked in Algonquin and that out of the water by far. This is an unbeatable view. Totally worth the trip and the cold that we suffered through the last couple days to be up here. Canada's such a beautiful country, and this is a prime example of why. You can see Georgian Bay out there, and probably Philip Edward Island that we paddled around a couple years ago. It was 1970 something. I can't see the last two numbers. I don't know if it was 1970 something. The exposed quartzite that Killarney Provincial Park is famous for is very apparent at the top of Silver Peak. Definitely aren't geese.
Sandhill Greens. Never seen that before. That's so cool. So we're super thankful that we were able to, one, come from our campsite, but two, we got an early start because we have passed probably like 30 people on the way down. Even though we had the top to ourselves, so definitely want to beat the rush. I'm assuming since the park office opens at 9 that all the canoe rentals come from there, and so everyone's leaving it around the same time, meaning that they're hiking at the same time. If you're relying on that, just keep it in mind that it might be busy. Otherwise, if you're coming from another direction and you're able to leave your campsite earlier, then that's the best way to go.
We made it back to our site, but it's a little bit windy and uncomfortable down there. Luckily, there's a nice clearing on the rock face behind us, so we can soak up the sun and avoid the wind back here. I guess we're staying for another night because probably be too pressed for time to get out of here today, and the weather keeps looking better and better for tomorrow, so we're not as worried about it as we were last night when we were looking at the forecast and it was saying 38km/h winds getting out of here. Just a little PSA, tarps aren't only for rain protection, they can also be used for wind and sun protection. The wind protection especially when it's this time of year. It's not the prettiest setup, but it's doing the trick. Completely different day on the other side of the tarp. Oh, much nicer. Hardly feel the wind at all behind this guy. I think we're gonna have another night of an early fire because it's cold again. I mean, at least we have some sun today. Still peeking through the trees at us. We got lots of firewood and we got lots of time, so let's get a fire going.
Wow, easier than yesterday.
That wind's really moving the smoke. Like right towards our tent, but it's a fair ways away, so I don't think it's going to carry any embers that far. Although we might be smoking out the next campsite because they're just over there a little bit, and their smoke's blowing right at them.
Thanks for setting up the tarp, Marlo.
Good morning. We're gonna try and get out of here this morning. It's a little chilly, unpleasant, but the wind's calmer than last night, that's for sure. This was a sweet trip. Sad to say it might be our last canoe trip though, if the weather's gonna be like this. But we can always hope for some better weather coming up in the future. Every time I come to Killarney, it makes me just want to do a bigger trip in Killarney because it is mind-blowingly beautiful. Hopefully a 2-week trip next year. That point you see over there goes out further than you think. It's hard not to feel a certain sadness sweep over you when you have to start working your way out of a beautiful place like this and back to the real world. You go, Nona? Okay. On the log. God. This is the part I was not looking forward to. Old wet feet. Just a super short paddle. And there's the next portage.
Our first big portage with all our stuff. I am figuring out how to walk without being able to see. I just moved the barrel slightly. Fine. And if I take my life jacket off, it's easier to fit everything on my shoulders. I only have to do this one time. So it looks like this is part of the trail from Bell Lake to get up to Silver Peak. Pretty nice. So it tees off here to go to Clear Silver. There is no signage, but it's a pretty obvious path and you can see the lake.
And we're on to Clear Silver. Means we only got one portage left. I was hoping this lake would have a nice view of Silver Peak, but so far we can't see it. Wishful thinking maybe. We're definitely starting to find our rhythm with the single blades too. I'm gonna take some time to build up the muscles like we have for using the double blades.
This portage just seems to be following the marsh through the forest. So thankfully we don't have to walk the marsh. Here's Johnny. Ryan, it's the Stephen King joke.
Oh, the sun. Lay down. That's not laying down, that's moving sideways. Lay down. Come on. Did I wipe you out? I swear the colors have gotten a little bit better since we were here a few nights ago. So tough puppy life being paddled around. Headwinds, what is this? Yeah, bye mountains. God, I'm gonna miss that. Well, I don't know who's coming out to lounge on that deck now, but I think the season's over. Nice chair though. Back at the parking lot. What a wicked adventure. Can't wait to do more trips in Killarney, that's for sure. Now get out there for some adventures of your own. They're waiting for you.